Yeah,
Amazing.
and while everyone is putting that in the chat, I just want to take a minute and welcome Laura Weber from Xello. She's a senior training specialist here with us today to go over some ins and outs of the K5 platform and provide us from a little bit of some of the some insights that she has, so we can go from curiosity to confidence in using it with students. And before I kick it back to Laura, just want to remind everyone to also check the chat for the sketch link. Joan just popped that into the chat as well. So if you need those sketches, make sure that you sign in as well as sign out at the end of the hour.
Thank you so much, Liz. Sorry, I got really excited and was just ready to take over and jump on
That's
in.
perfect. It's good.
Amazing. Okay. Perfect. So awesome. We've got those forms in the chat for you all. So we're going to go ahead and move on. So you guys, today's session is really all about empowering you to use Xello Elementary. Thank you so much for putting your confidence level. And that's absolutely okay. If you guys are comfortable turning your cameras off, that's absolutely fine. Usually when I'm excited about a training, my mouth just droops open and I'm drooling a little bit. So I completely understand if you don't want that. That's absolutely understandable. But I do and will ask you guys to use the chat a bit just to keep touch points and give ideas with each other, really about how to utilize Xello. Hopefully, we'll walk away with some really strong resources. I know that we are headed towards the finish line here, so I know that we have a couple. We're on a week countdown, right? So 4 weeks out or something like that, which is wild. And so we will think about some ideas of what to take away from this session to do in the next 4 weeks. And what I really want to impact in you today is that Xello is as big or as small as you kind of want it to. I'm going to be sharing lots of good resources. So for my 3.5 people or four, that Xello pretty well, I hope I can give you guys some new information today that you haven't seen or used yet so far. And then for my ones or twos, I'm also hoping that I make it accessible to you to give you some of that confidence to bring back in whatever capacity that you have prior to the end of the school year and into next school year. Again, my email is always open. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions, but this is kind of the path that we'll go on today. We'll look at kind of the basics of Xello Elementary and how it can support some students. And then I'm going to go into a lot of really cool resources because as a past elementary educator as well, we know that it's really easy to get something else to add, right? But I really want to make sure that you leave today not feeling like this is just another ask or another thing to do, that you really see the importance of it and that you can find, your niche, your piece of Xello, whether that's, 15 minutes at the end of the end of a class period, whether that's kind of leaning on some other support staff in your buildings. So hoping that we can find a good sweet spot for you to continue this on here today. Now, I love asking this question, so I'm going to ask it because it's one of my favorite things to know about you all. So in the chat, told you that I'd ask you to do some things in the chat. What can you remember if you were to think back to the early years, right? Before you kind of knew what existed or before you knew the ins and outs of all the different possible options, what can you remember wanting to be when you grew up? It could be something fictional, it could be something realistic, but what do you remember wanting to be? An equestrian. Love it. That was fast to the type. Yeah, Megan, same, a marine biologist or a zoologist. I also wanted to be that. An elementary, a school teacher, or an interior designer. Fun fact, I was looking at Kalamazoo's data, and in the top 10 careers, your elementary school students are saying that they also want to be elementary school teachers. So that's pretty fun as well. A game show host. I could see you being good at that there, Jason. A veterinarian, absolutely. Ah, okay, Liz, love it. And not only did Liz tell me what she wanted to be, but also how she knew it was a job. So pop in the chat as well. Whatever you picked, marine biologist, zoologist, game show host, how did you know that that was a job? Where did you see that? What exposure did you have to that? What influence was it? Love it. Trading Trading Spaces on TLC. Absolutely. You saw it on TV. That's a huge one for elementary and middle school kids, right? Movies and TV shows. Yes, exactly so. Oh, I loved horses, and my grandparents had them for me to ride. So having a pet, yeah. So do you hear the differences right now? It's all about the exposure. It's about what we had access to on TV or movies, right? Maybe iPads for our kids now, but what we have exposure to, but then also it's about what people in our family do, right? Or what exposure we have within our inner circle, our immediate inner circle. So, you guys, I'm excited for you. This is the kind of spark that we want students to really sustain. We want to help Xello kind of create that spark and that excitement. And we're hoping that you ask these questions to students, right? What do you want to be when you grow up? And allow them to kind of share that insight with you. Because here's the powerful truth that you all just kind of proved in the chat here is you can't be what you can't see, right? And that's a really powerful, familiar quote. We've probably heard that before, and we want to make sure that our students can see themselves. And so that's really important because I have some really cool documents here. Kids are forming career related perceptions by the age of 7, right? And so we think about the first time that someone helped us plan for our future. I remember I was in 8th grade. People were asking me what courses I wanted to take and telling me how those could impact my future. And I was like, oh my, I felt so overwhelmed. So it is so impactful for us to be starting young, early, and often because they're already starting to rule out potential job options. Early exposure increases equity, right? We want to make sure that when we're helping students give exposure here, that we're showing them equity past maybe what their immediate access is or what they're seeing on TVs and movies. We want to be those institutions of change, right? And when kids are exposed to real world roles, it really does help, and it's shown to help boost engagement in school. Now they're starting to understand, why am I learning all these things, right? Why do I need to know about math or how to read or, all these different pieces that we're teaching them? Well, it's because you're really excited about being a marine biologist, and science is huge in marine biology. Or in order to be a game show host, we need you to be able to speak to your classes, right? We want you to be able to present to your fellow peers. So there's a lot of real world applications when we start talking about what their passions could be as they're getting a bit older here. Okay. So as we go through here, I have some great slides that if you want to steal these, I'll be sharing these with all of you to bring back to your buildings. There is such power in starting early, right? We talked about the fact that kids are already kind of going through paths and choosing what careers are not for them by the age of 7 and really understanding potential implications into like, well, what happens if I'm, exposed to certain careers over others? We also at Xello have a lot of documents. I'll be including a lot in my resources about how Xello aligns with your priorities. I don't know why I have Indiana here, sorry. But yes, we're going to be talking a little bit about how it aligns with priorities specifically in Michigan. Sorry, there we go. My mistyping. So I'll show you all the Michigan resources that we have, and we'll get there in just a little bit today. Okay. So for my 1s or 2s that you're not quite sure really what Xello is, or maybe you haven't dug into Xello a ton yet, please note that it's based off of these 4 components. So it's based off of building self-knowledge, exploring options, creating plans, learning and reassessing. And then when we think a little bit about what Xello success could look like. Now, before, we hear this all the time, and I used to hear this as a teacher often. Before Xello, sometimes students might say, well, what do you want to be? And you might get a shrug. Or what'd you do at school today? And you might say, I don't know. But we want them with Xello to be able to name roles that they've learned about, that they might be excited about. Before Xello, we know that oftentimes, and this never actually happened for me as an elementary student, but we weren't really taught future readiness. I know that we have definitely taken some steps to ensure that future readiness is being taught, but now with Xello, because it's not just an extra thing, there are interactive and reflective opportunities and activities in the program itself. And again, this is the last one that you guys were kind of nodding with me on. That career exposure was left for middle school, right? It's a counselor thing. They're going to help students kind of identify future readiness, but we know that it should be beginning much earlier. So we really want to help build that confidence early and often as they're younger here. All right. Oof, talking a lot already, you guys. And so I want to just really quickly open up and show you how this progresses. Now, I want you to hear that I'm going to end with 6 through 12. So I'm going to end with what do students in Xello kind of have exposure to in middle and high school, but why is it so important? And I personally will stand on this pedestal. I think it's the most important for elementary school because again, when they get to the high school and middle school, it can get really overwhelming. So I'm a huge advocate for all of you being here and so grateful that you're spending some time with us because I want to show you how big this leaps here. So we're going to see in just a little bit here that the K2 program has them designate and kind of looks at 6 different locations. Now, these locations are actually going to somehow correspond to career clusters. So in 8th grade or 6th through 12th grade, they're going to get like 14 different career clusters that they can get into. But in K2, what we do is simplify those into what we call career groups. So students are able to start to understand that careers can kind of fall into different career groups that they might be more drawn to. So we'll go into each of those different locations in just a little bit, but here's what the interesting part is. We have 6 locations in Xello. When they get to 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, we have 12 different missions that they can learn really specifically about. They can learn about entrepreneurship, they can learn about problem solving, and all these different skills that are going to help kind of prepare them for the future. And then listen to this one. When they get through 6th through 12th grade, they're going to have 28 different lessons, right? So do you see this kind of release of responsibility and why it's so important that we really do kind of help engage our youngest of the youngest? So when they are going through this process, it's not the first time they're talking about them when they're starting to plan for high school and for college or for what's after high school, right? Whatever that might be, college and career. Self-knowledge looks very similarly, right? They're going to go through in K2 and kind of identify things that they like, what their favorite subject is, what they do at home, right? What they like to do for fun. In 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, they get to designate their interests and skills. But then in 6th through 12th grade, they're going to be taking different assessments that kind of help them see maybe who they are becoming and what would be some good fits for them. So again, how important is that? I remember you guys in middle school, I gave my 8th graders a career aptitude test, and they didn't know really how to take that because we hadn't really prepared them through elementary and early elementary and later elementary on what does that mean? Do you have to go into that career that you get matched with? Or is it just an option based on some of the interests that you've been designating? So very important for students to really explore rich information about what they like and how that could pertain to different careers. The last one I want to show you is my personal favorite one. So in your K2 experience, students get exposure specifically to 18 careers throughout the different career locations, so in the different pockets. Now, in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, that's over 300 careers. And in 6th through 12, that's over 600 careers, thousands of schools, thousands of majors, different pathways, etc. So I think this one is one of the most important reasons as to why it's so valuable to give the kiddos that much needed time to do that exposure and exploration, because we're going to keep asking them, right, to do that as they get older. We want to make sure that we're setting them up for success foundationally. Okay. I'm going to pause frequently, you guys, and I'm always going to check out the chat. So please feel free, if you have any specific questions, feel free to go ahead and pop those in the chat for me. I am monitoring it throughout this entire time here together. But we're going to spend just a minute here kind of going through the K2 experience. I'll have a bunch of resources in my slide deck. So for those of you that said you were a 1 or a 2 with Xello, I do want to give you just a brief overview of what your students can do. And again, I'm going to say this a bunch of times, but please don't feel pressured that you have to do this perfectly. Don't feel pressured that you have to do everything that I'm suggesting today. I just want to show you kind of overviews so that way you can pick and fit, like decide what kind of works best for you as you're going through your Xello. Okay. So the first one that I want to show you is kind of just the overview. So we're going to dig into the platform in just a second, but the overview for the K2 program is going to support around 7 different 20-minute sessions. Now, if you want more than that, we've got more. We can absolutely help you out. But if you don't want that much, right, or let's say you need to divvy up those sections, we absolutely can allow you to do that as well, and it can be played and replayed as many times times as students want. They're going to meet a lot of fun characters, so it's definitely like a fun game for them to play. Our K2 students really have a fun time for those of you that have helped. But Ernestine McNohire is our main antagonist. She'll kind of tinker around in the background. She's plunging the town into chaos. And so you're going to meet Detective Jill. She will be translating, she'll be narrating everything for your youngest students, especially, right? That probably aren't maybe your kindergartners probably aren't reading quickly on the screens quite yet, so she'll narrate everything. She'll also narrate in Spanish. So if you guys want to turn that on for your students, you absolutely can. It's something that they'll just go on their screen, toggle to the right-hand corner. I'll show you in just a little bit, and the entire program will be in Spanish for them instead. The other really fun aspect is that your students get to create a character to put into the game to help solve the mysteries. So they're going to go and experience Career Town. They're going to meet different people in different careers. They're going to help throughout the Career Town and perform some of the different jobs that need to be performed. And I'll show you what that looks like over here on our example page. So this is Career Town in its glory here. You're going to see some things highlighting because these are locations that I haven't visited yet. Any location that I have visited will get a nice little blue check mark right in the middle, and I'll know that I've been there. Now, one of my favorite locations is right over here, the business. This is a pet business. And so when I come over here, I'm going to be meeting everyone that kind of is within the business. There's 3 different careers that I'll meet, and then I'll take over washing pets for the day. So I'm going to pick up my grooming materials, and I'll be, trimming dogs and giving them haircuts and washing them because I'm taking over for the business owner as chaos is taking over kind of the town here. Now, we also do have a really lovely little quick video that explains the entire experience. So if you want to watch this, or if you want to send this to a building principal, if you want to send this out to parents or guardians to just kind of explain what you guys are doing in class for the next couple of weeks, please feel free to. I'm going to be putting our YouTube site in the chat over here for any of you to kind of utilize, but all of our YouTube videos are within the YouTube site, and you can steal any of those. Feel free to share those out if they want to see a 2 to 4 minute clip about what Career Town's all about. So I'm just going to play this just to show you just a quick example. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but just want to show you an example of what's here.
Career Town is a peaceful and happy place. People like their jobs, and they work together to keep the town running smoothly. That is, until Detective Jill learns that some of the Career Town workers have gone missing from their jobs.
All right, you get the gist. But if you want to watch that video or any of our others, again, they are on in Spanish as well on our website, so you can share those with your Spanish-speaking families or however else you might choose to. But feel free to share that with any of your other parents, guardians, administrators as well. All right, perfect. All right, great. You guys, those career groups over here as we look through, so there's that hospital, there's the health pathway right here. So we can go through the different groups within Xello that you're seeing and all the different careers that they're going to be seeing at each of the different groups. So there is the business path, the creative path, the nature path, there's a fixing and building path, as well as the helping path and health path. I also have heard that those correspond to the 6 Michigan career zones, so that could be really helpful as well for you to be exploring those different career zones with students. So again, students will click in. They'll go through the mechanics of the game. I'm going to show you just a quick kind of screenshot of what the game looks like here. This is the one I was talking about, the business. So here's my little kitty. I'm going to wash her. I'm going to brush her. I will dry her. Students receive rewards. They get to take a little quiz about different careers that they're learning at that location. And then all throughout, you all, again, members, Xello, big or small, you guys pick what feels good for you. We have extra lesson resources. These are already pre-created for all of you. You do not need to even lift a finger creating them. But what I absolutely love and want to show you today are the discussion prompts that can really help guide your students to having some key discussions around these different lessons and locations. If I was thinking about my kindergarten, first grade, second grade classroom, I would have made a little anchor chart probably, potentially for each of the different pathways, right? The business career group. And then we could have some of these different discussions around what are businesses? What are some different types of businesses? What are some businesses in your community? And again, these are already all pre-created. We have vocabulary, we have discussion prompts, we even have extra activities that all of your students can do. So if you said that you were a 4.5 or a 3.5 on the Xello scale when I first asked you today, if you have not checked out some of our extension activities or lesson resources, I highly suggest you do so. I'm going to have all of them linked into my slide deck returning with you guys, so you have access to all of them. So I'll go ahead and show you really quickly over here. Here are our lesson resources all set up and ready for you. And then I will put that link in the chat if that's something that you want to explore on your own in just a little bit here. Okay. I'm going to pause there and just open it up, you guys. I know I've covered a lot about the K2, so there's those extension activities. I'm also going to pop some lesson resources into the chat as well. But any questions that you're sitting with as of right now? Anything I didn't clarify or any ways I could help you a little bit more dig in there? Again, just to call you out, so every single location here, if we're going to go to the farm, has those discussion prompts, has a lesson breakdown, has vocabulary, so it's really all set up for you. We really don't want to make you feel like, you have to sit with this and learn the entire program. We are hoping that this feels like a light lift and a really helpful resource for your students here. Feel free to shoot that question directly to me if you don't feel comfortable maybe popping it in the chat. Otherwise, we are going to go ahead and jump into then the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade program, which does look very similar, but quite different from the K2. So of course, don't worry, we also have a 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade video for you. So if you want to show that one out, you absolutely can. It is also on that website in English and in Spanish. Ooh, there we go. Great question. So your students will sign in, and I'm just at an elementary school over here, but your students will sign in typically through your Google single sign-on link posted on the district website. So do reach out potentially. I think, Liz, are you the person that they can reach out to if they're having heart struggling signing their students in? Okay, so reach out to Liz Jones, who's here as well, and we can pop her email in the chat if you're unsure of how students can sign in or if your students don't see that Google single sign-on link as an option, and we can get you some further directions for that. Thanks, Liz. Great question. Any other questions here, you guys, before we pop into the 3rd, 4th, 5th grade experience? Okay. You will notice, you all, that the 3rd, 4th, 5th grade experience is a bit more older, right? Mature for our 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders, which makes a lot of sense here. Instead of that gamified play, they are moving on into missions, but missions do have a gamified kind of element here. Missions around problem solving or goal setting or setting themselves up for success. There are 4 different missions at every single grade level. So 3rd grade, 4th grade, and 5th grade. And your 5th graders, let's say you guys have 5th graders right now, and in the next 4 weeks, you want them to access every mission possible. They can always go back and take their past year's missions if that's something that you wanted them to do. Every single mission comes with discussion prompts that we have for you, vocabulary terms, extra fun activities. So if you're looking for some good ways to get students kind of engaging in career and college readiness prior to the end of the school year, or maybe you finished a certain subject area curriculum early and you have more or less time on your plate, we've got you covered here. So we've got a lot of great missions here for students to get dug into and kind of prepare for, what's to come in the future. Now, let's say you're like, Laura, I barely have enough time for what I have, right? I have tons on my plate. And can you just help me navigate what would be some really cool things to have my students do in the program? And that would absolutely be to check out these potential areas at the top here. So one over here is the About Me. So this is where they can self-explore what their interests are, their school subjects, their achievements. They can add different school projects to their storyboard. So these are just some fun ways for them to let you know who they are and what they like. One of my favorite 15-minute activities for third, fourth, and fifth graders when I go to schools is to have them come into this career area. Click on the career. So you guys, if you leave with nothing today, if you leave with this fun way to kind of engage your students for 15 to 20 minutes, here it is. Are you ready? Have them click on careers, have them go and click on a career group or click on the alphabet, click on any of these. And then I want you to have them scroll and find a career that they have never heard of before. Horticulturist, right? And now I want you can put 3 questions up on the board, right? So you might even ask ChatGPT, give me 3 questions about exploring careers in Xello that I can ask my 3rd grade students. Right? That's a great way to use some AI there. Put those on the board and then have students spend the next 10 minutes answering those questions and have them spend the last 5 minutes sharing them out in the classroom. That is going to really help engage in interest, in exposure, etc. It's a really fun activity. I've led it in a lot of elementary schools. They get really excited, like, what? How did you even find that career? Where did you find that career? I want to go find it now. So I highly suggest if you have some time, again, big or small, if you have a lot of time, do a Xello lesson. Those are absolutely phenomenal. If you have a little bit of time because you finished a lesson early and you just want to get them exposed to something in Xello, have them go find a career that they've never heard of before. Mostly because what our students have exposure to are the careers that we haven't had exposure to as children, right? A lot of them are exposed to teachers. Now they're exposed to influencers and professional athletes, right? We know that those students have exposure, so let's get them some different types of careers that they can get exposed to. Over here, and I just want to call this out, I forgot to mention this on the K2 program, but students can click on their little picture over here and change their language. So if at any time they need to change the language into 135 plus different languages, they sure can, including Spanish. And then there is going to be the opportunity for them to turn on the read aloud capabilities to have certain aspects of the program read to them as they're going through if they need that. Y'all, I'm monitoring for questions, so as I'm going through here, please do not hesitate, but you'll notice all the really cool information here that they are able to kind of glean. So there's salary information, there's career group, and for our 5th graders starting, right, to get into the middle school potentially, over here is how they will get started. So thinking about, is this college? Is this career? Is this right away training, right? Good question, Megan and JC. You know what? I don't know that answer. I will find that out for you and I'll add that to my follow-up. You guys can play with it, but oh, it does. Amanda's saying it does. Thank you. Amanda, I know for sure it reads in Spanish, but we'll see. I'm not sure about what other languages. So, okay. Thank you guys very much. One new addition that we've recently added also are videos about the career. So your students can go see a day in the life of a horticulturist if they wanted to and come kind of watch that video. Those have all been vetted by Xello themselves. So those are all within every single career. Now, please don't forget, now a lot of times when we do trainings, educators get really excited. We're like, yes, we're going to get students in, and then we forget what to do with the data that students provide. Now, students can go in and save and like different careers. And that's only as helpful as what we do with that data. So on the educator side, when you all log into your data, you are able to come over here to your reports and check out what students are working on. You're able to see the top saved careers, you're able to see the top saved interests. And so if you do have the opportunity to reach out to community members and maybe get an artist or get someone to come and talk to your students about that career, you might even have the art teacher come on over and talk about what it might be like for them to become an artist when they grow up, right? We can go and look at who's saving different careers. We've got video game developer. Now, you might have a middle schooler, high schooler come to your elementary school and talk about what classes they might want to take in middle or high school if they want to become a video game developer. I have so many different ways to use this data. You might use it for a career fair. You might use it for, lots of different reasons, right? And in fact, I'm going to ask you all, what could you use this data for? So pop it in the chat if you have any ideas of how you've used the data in the past or what you could do with the data. But it really is helpful and it shows students that you're listening to them, right? That this matters. Students can always go in and unsave careers to make sure that this is up to date for you all. So that way, when they go back in and say, actually, maybe horticulturist isn't quite for me, we can unsave that if we want to. Okay. Amazing. Yes, offering different electives and courses, guiding our PBL. Oh, it went too fast. Lessons and have invited experts in research projects. Yes, love it. Reality fair. Thank you, Joan. Yeah, getting to know students better, right? Like just getting to know who's in our classrooms. And how fun is this that when you're in the Xello village, if you all spend time having students input this information, other educators in your buildings can benefit from it too. You are not just the only person holding on to this knowledge, right? It is a shared effort. It takes a village. Guiding clubs and small groups for my school counseling program. I love these ideas, you all. Keep them coming while you're coming up with them in the chat because that's really helpful for the rest of our groups here. I want to show you then with the lessons and all the cool things that Xello has to offer, there are also, there we go, the discussion prompts, the vocabulary terms, and even fun activities that I really love that your students could do. I'm going to show you an example of one of those activities here. So I'm going to dig into one really quickly. So this is one of our lessons here. One of our lessons is called Learning Paths for 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. I believe it's a 4th grade lesson, but I might be wrong here. And one of them, here's some discussion prompts. How do people learn the skills that they need for their jobs? How does someone decide, right? How do you pick a learning path? So this might be a 5th grade lesson. It's feeling a little bit older to me, but look how great when you guys go into our lesson resources, there is already a pre-created worksheet. You guys just have to press print where they can go and interview a person to find out what path they took to get into their career. So they can take this into the school. How fun would that be? They can go over to the school nurse. They can go over to the principal. They can go over to the secretary, right? How did you get your job? What pathway did you take? What training did you need? And again, this is all already pre-created. Please do not create this. We do not want this to feel like an extra lift. We want you to feel like these are resources that are just available when you're ready for them and if they make sense to input into the classroom here. Okay. JC, I love that one as well, saying that there's a lot of information shared here that students might not have had other places to share that in, which is a huge part of the value. And that's so true, right? Like knowing our students as holistic people and understanding what their interests and their likes are and their favorite subjects and what careers they want to be and seeing kind of how that's shaping them and their elementary kind of journey here. Love that. All right, I know I talk quickly. My grandfather used to yell at me for it all the time. And so for those of you that maybe move quickly, you appreciate that. For those of you who are like, Laura, I am a slow moving girl, please calm down. I'm gonna pause here for a second. Questions, concerns, just ideas that are coming to you, please feel free to pop those in the chat. We're definitely looking for other ideas. Let me see here. Quick interviews with one or more employers at elementary career fairs. That would be really fun. We actually do have an interview one as well. So there is already, I think, a pre-created interview worksheet. I'll see if I can find that and link that into the resources for you. Yeah, great question. You guys, I would just love to know as well, how does, like, we get asked the question often, how does Xello align with Michigan Common Core state standards? So do you guys see any connections that you can pop into the group here so far? So any ideas of how this could already align with, what you're doing, what you're requiring kids to do, what you're asking of kids, how you're tracking, anything that you can see aligning here? I'll give us just a little minute here to get our brains going. I know it takes a minute to type. Also, feel free to unmute if you want to. Could be a question that maybe you're thinking about. So keep them coming in the chat if you have any ideas. Otherwise, I'll give you some ways that I know that Xello aligns with Michigan Common Core standards. But if you're thinking of anything as well, pop it in the chat for us. Oh, nope, just kidding. I just didn't give you enough time. Listening and reading and extension stuff for words and expressing, absolutely. Great. Writing prompts, 3 questions, absolutely. So there's definitely going to be a lot of writing prompts, right? A lot of ability for them to utilize potential ELA standards, right? Reading information, writing information, even speaking and listening. Add simple career spin / activities on content standards. Jason, that's a genius idea. A lot of times, you guys, counselors are stuck with like providing career and college readiness, right? When it's a all hands on deck job. So how can we make sure that math content and English content? I taught English to 8th grade. I did an awful job at adding career spins. I'm thinking about an activity I did with my 3rd graders almost every year. Do you guys remember that activity where you'd have them bring in a bag about themselves where it was stuff inside of it and they'd like share and introduce that stuff to tell them about themselves? I never thought, and one of the educators had this genius idea. They were like, "Oh yeah, we could do that and then tie what they bring in that bag to different careers that we would see in the real world." I was like, "Oh my, genius. Never even thought about that," right? Oh, you have a photograph of your mom that you took one time. Oh, you could be a photographer, you could be a designer, you could be an artist, you could be a whatever, right? So pretty fun actually to just figure out some small spins, right? It does not have to be a heavy lift. Love that. All right, you all. So we're keeping it moving here. I want to show you all that every single one of you, so for my 1s and 2s, you might not know this. For my 3s, 4s, 5s, y'all are already used to this. But on your home screen in Xello, you all have a Xello student login where you can do exactly what I've been doing and play in Xello as if you were a student. So if you did not know that this existed, you are welcome. It's a very fun place to play. So highly suggest come into a 3rd, 4th, or 5th grade student. When you have time, go into a K1 or 2, but do know Detective Jill, she is chatty, so give yourself some time. She's going to talk you through the program a little bit at the beginning. JC's nodding at me. She knows. You guys understand. So go into a 3rd, 4th, 5th grade and just kind of play around in there. It's also an awesome mentor example, right? Because many of our 5th graders or my 5th graders were very visual learners. They needed to see me do something. It's also a great opportunity for you all to share your career journeys, right? What are you researching? What would you have researched? Where did you end up? What are your interests, right? Ways for you to share with your students what you've been interested in. I know that we've already thought about this, so I'm opening up the chat as I go through some of these, but I want to get this idea of all hands on deck. How can we and where can we leverage other people in classrooms and buildings, et cetera, in the schools, community members, to really make sure that it's really taking a village here? So thinking about librarians, could they be curating? I know some of us don't have librarians any longer, but could there be, certain career groups already curated based on what you're studying? If you guys are studying the fixing and building pathways, there might be a fixing and building bucket that students can go in and read about construction, right? Or whatever that might be. School nurses coming to talk about health careers. Is there a way to get administrative assistants in or social workers? So I'm just going to open up the chat. Any ideas from you all about your village? Who in your village could you leverage? I know you've talked about experts potentially coming in. I know you talked about potentially reaching out to the community, but anybody else in your buildings that maybe we could just get to help out, right? It doesn't even have to be a big lift, but just even talk about certain careers, talk about pathways. Love this. Thank you. The city library has really cool kits for STEM projects and activities with books. That sounds awesome. That could be something that you're doing during specific either pathways or studying certain career groups. Love it. I'll wait for a couple more ideas here and then we will move on. Absolutely. Reaching out to parents, community members, librarians, having specialties. Love it. After school programs. Yes, please. Yeah, these are great ideas. Every summer school, that's a huge one. Yep, absolutely. We can be utilizing these and sharing these, right? A lot of times people are just looking for resources like help, right? I'd love something. As a past English teacher, if my lesson ended early, I would have loved to know that Xello exists, and my students actually could have gone in and searched careers by English, right? So if you aren't having some of your subject area teachers in the program, or just at least sharing that this exists as a tool for them to use if they do finish a lesson early, feel free to. Please have them do this, because I know that it feels like a small lift to help them get into the product, but it's an awesome resource all the way around in a building. I just got last one here. I love the idea of having the village with guest speakers. Why isn't the nurse talking to our students about what services they provide and what career and their job looks like? Love this. Absolutely. Uh-huh. Yep. Why do we have to learn this? We have a whole little dig-in tool for 612 as well of like, why am I learning math? And we have little videos as well. Yeah. You guys have nailed it on the head, so thank you so much. Read alouds. So if there's certain read alouds you're doing, you might focus on certain read alouds for specific careers or career groups that maybe you're focused on. Anchor charts. I love decision-making activities. Could you have on, like, we used to do a warm-up for our students all the time. You might have 2 careers on either side of the room. Give them 5 minutes to read about them and then pick what career they'd rather be and why. They have to go stand on each side of the room, right? It's really fun ways to just get them engaged. These are quick. We used to do would you rathers, right? Would you rather be this or this? Here's your knowledge. Make your choice, right? So there's really easy ways to make them more career centric and focused. And yes, of course, get them in Xello. And also, as Jason was saying too, like how can we make sure we add career spins to what we're doing? Love it. For 3-5, we were thinking maybe creating a career fact sheet. They could do a little career research project and post it on their lockers if they do have lockers. Career visitors, you guys have already shared. Career choice fair. I'm not sure if anyone does that. I think someone was saying that they were doing a career fair for the older kid. Oh, you guys have employers at the elementary career fairs. You could even have 5th graders pick careers, research those careers within Xello and beyond, and then you could have a K-5 career fair where your K-4th graders came and asked questions, right? Well, what kind of schooling did you need for your career? How much money might you make at your career? What career cluster, what career group is your career in? What kind of subjects might you like to be in that career, right? So imagine now your kindergartners and 2nd graders are learning from the oldest kids, right? The 5th graders that are cool within your buildings. I'm pausing there again. We have had so many good ideas come up. If you have any others, you pop those into the chat for me. But I also just want to open it up to what other ideas or questions do you have? If you have any, before I go through and just share with you my last little bit of resources. I don't want you all to forget, and then maybe Liz, Jason, Joan might have some ideas, but you can also invite parents to Xello that may have not been your priority this school year, but that might be for next year. So if you want parents to be able to get a read-only version of what their students are doing in Xello, you absolutely can invite them. And I can actually show you just a quick example of what that looks like from the parent side. So if you are interested in seeing that, I'm going to log into my family portal just to show you. There we go. So over here as a parent, I also can change my language if I need to see the results in some different languages, right? Over here on the left-hand side, I get a read-only version of my different students here. So I get to see what she's saved, what she's liked, what my 3rd or 4th grader, what their favorite school subjects are today versus tomorrow. Again, it helps answer those questions. What'd you do at school today? Shrug, right? So it really helps make sure that our parents have some communication to help our students out with as well and have those conversations if we're looking to lead into those in the home. Last but not least, one really cool piece, I think, of the parent portal is that all of your parents get their own demo accounts so they can log in as ghost students. So they're able to explore the program as well if they want to. It does not impact any of your data. It is just a fun place for them to be able to play. Okay. Great question, Liz. So Liz asked, does 3-5 show the 9 pathways like the 6-12 does? And it absolutely does. It's one of the only kind of overlapping pieces. It's actually 6 pathways, not the 9. We have 6 groups for the K2 and then the 3-5. So if we go into the 3-5 over here and head into career groups, they are going to see the exact same pathways that they would see in the K2 experience. So all of these are the exact locations that they can click on in K2. Does that make sense? Oh, sorry. You're talking about the post-graduation pathways. Is that what you're talking about? There we go. No, it usually, I think it only shows, I want to say it shows technical, vocational, it shows 2-year, 4-year, it shows college, and it shows maybe straight to work. I'll find out on that one for you, Liz. I haven't clicked on all the careers to know. I don't think military is necessary. Military might be a pathway, actually. Let me go look. I'll dig into this. Okay. Megan, do we invite them in our portal or do we send a login? Good question. So you guys, if you are interested in sending it to families first, come up with an idea. Don't just invite every parent right away until you kind of have a plan of how to attack it. First of all, because Xello is actually going to email to your families from noreply@xello.world. And if you haven't told your families that it's coming, they might think it's spam. So do give them a little heads up and say, hey, we've been learning Xello. You might, we have some worksheets already pre-created. I'll add those to the links at the end, but we already have some really awesome family resources if you're looking to invite them. And then all you all would do, let me head back to my educator account over here. All you are going to do is go over to where it says families. And then once you've added your families and guardians, so Sunset Lake, it looks like this is my example here, has not added their families or guardians yet. We are able to pull them over potentially from SIS. So reach out to Liz and Liz can reach out to us. And then you would select all the parents here and we'd send them an invite. So again, it does just take a little prep work. We want to make sure to get your parents in there. We want to make sure it's getting pulled over from your portal system. And then last but not least, we want to make sure that they know that it's coming from noreply@xello.world and they kind of know what Xello is before we just launch a bunch of invites their way. Okay. Great question. Great question. So you all, in my follow-up, I will add a slide for family resources, but I also just want to show you the ones that we talked about today and how I've linked them into Xello here. So first off, we have the Xello extension activities. These are going to be kind of above and beyond. If you do not, maybe your students lost computers for the day, or maybe there's some reason that they can't be on tech, Xello extension activities are going to not necessarily have to do with the Xello program itself. These are things that maybe you could print off or that they might be handwriting, stuff like that. So these are going to be career college community focused. So you'll see over here, there's comparing careers. We have a whole little wave the cards, create a Venn diagram, community, problem solvers. So we have a whole little built of activities that don't require the computer to be used in order to dig into career college readiness, right? Community, etc. So employability skills, all that great stuff. If, however, you're like, Laura, I really love those lessons. I want to dig into the program to Xello itself. We have the lesson resources, and these are those discussion prompts. These are all those great little pieces that have to do with the Xello lessons and what's in the program. So if you want to really build out, those questions, or maybe just one day you have a 40-minute time period or a 30-minute class period with your students, you might just come in here and say, you guys, okay, we're going to ask some questions. What are some of your interests? How do people get interested in an activity? How can knowing your interests help you find some jobs you might like, right? So these are just great things to have in your back pocket on any given day if you want them. All right. Amazing. Okay. Perfect. I see some things happening in the chat, so I'm just checking in. But after that, you all, we are getting closer to the end. I want to ask if there's any remaining questions. As a past educator as well, if something's not working, I want to know that there's resources to help support me immediately. So if you log in or you don't know how to log in, or one day your login stops working and you don't know how to reach who to reach out to, of course, reach out to Liz. Liz is a fantastic resource. However, also, we have this 1-800 number. I know that sounds really hokey, but I promise it's a real life person at any given time on our client solutions team, and they are phenomenal. So if for some reason you log in and something's not working the way you want it to be, give us a call. We are available from 8 a.m. Eastern time to 8 p.m. So chances are, and I hope you're not working past that. So chances are we will be there for you to answer a question, and we'll get you an answer, or at the very least, we will be working on solving it for you. Okay. Other options, obviously, you can email us at any time, so please feel free to. We're always here for emails. And then we also have a ton of support on our support site. So if at any time you're just wondering about a question, I saw someone mention Xello Academy in the chat at the beginning, so kudos to you. If there's any support that you need or articles and how to do stuff, you're just wondering how can you navigate, over here, this little blue question mark on your Xello login screen is going to take you to our support site. It is phenomenal. There are so many great things on the support site. You're obviously going to stay within Xello K5 here. There are just lots of great ways to see reports, Career Town, all the great things, lessons. So please come in here and check that out if at any time you have some questions or just need a quick resource to pull from for some reason. I'm going to have this beautiful list of all the things that we have for you in one place at the end here. I'm also going to add parent resources on here too, just in case you are interested. Okay, so that's all there. And then Liz also just put in the chat that a K5 Xello Academy for 3, I believe you pronounce them, sketches. It's self-paced and it's open until June 30th. So if you want even more kind of hands-on time and you're like, Laura, I was a 1 before this training and you said so many great things and I've forgotten all of them, at any time that you'd like to, you can go and take that Xello Academy, that self-paced Xello Academy, to help guide you through the program and get you actually clicking on things with us. Okay. I've got about 5 minutes for questions, for thought partnering, for whatever, for concerns, for problems. What do you have for me? I really want to make sure that this is useful. If you have little activities or tips or tricks that you have and ways that Xello's worked for you, let's hear them. If you have concerns or ways that Xello hasn't worked for you that you want to voice, please, I'd love to hear them as well. We are here to really help and support you. So anything that you're sitting with, you can send it directly to me in the chat if you don't feel comfortable, or feel free to unmute. We are here to really help and support you in these last couple of minutes here. Anything you're sitting with, or what are you excited to try? Anything else?
Laura, one extension activity, and I'm not sure, Amanda, if you're still using those in Vicksburg, but at one point we had career boxes that had just play toys that related to the different groups. And what a fun way to just continue to explore those different groups and enjoy through play. So.
I'm going to add that to our slide deck because that sounds amazing. Never have heard people do that, and I love it.
Yes, I am the revamper of the boxes as part of Career Champions. So I've really been enjoying doing that and using that with my K2 teachers.
Do they sort them, Amanda? Tell me more about career boxes.
So they're connected to the locations in Career Town. I have time to do one direct lesson to introduce Career Town and then to kindergarten and for them to play it. And then in first and second grade, I do a little bit more, a refresher, and then a little bit more of a talk about careers and exploration. But we've been rotating them between K1, and they've been using them as just, I mean, as some of the teachers have been using it in the morning as part of like their morning work, and kids can go in and explore. And it really has created a lot of great discussions when I've come back in the classroom and kids have talked about it. So
That's an awesome idea. Love
Yeah,
it.
so cool. Thank you, Amanda, too, for your work.
Thank you for that idea. That's going to change how I deliver all these trainings. I'm going to add this to every single school. So this is nationwide that we are now going to be talking about career boxes. So I appreciate you.
We have also taken time, or we will be taking time from Amanda's work of organizing the boxes. They were something that were kind of found in the back of a warehouse at one point in time when things were being cleaned out. And we hope to inventory those so that instead of the boxes rotating around all of KRESA, we can share the inventory list with a school district and maybe some resources in the form of funds to help the school district create their own set of boxes that can then also be utilized in the classrooms. So we thank Amanda for her organizational skills to get those up and running and back organized, and hope to just grow that idea around the county.
That's phenomenal. Well, that's very cool. Love that.
So I just want to take a minute in the last minute to thank you, Laura, for just some phenomenal information, some amazing resources. I've got a lot of people to follow up on in regards to not only login pieces, but how to get those sketches from the Xello Academy, as well as helping schools launch the Xello family. So I think we've hit a lot of key areas and have a lot more energy rolling forward. So, and for everyone to understand, Lori will be sending me the recording. I will be getting that out to all of you and a few others that couldn't quite make it for today, but we're hoping for the recording to be able to, hear the information. And then you can also share that recording around your buildings as well for people that weren't able to jump on today. And then just one last reminder, if you're here, if you want the sketchies for attending today, Joan just popped the link in to sign out. So make sure you do that. And then thank you again, Laura. It's a lot of great information.
Thanks, you guys, for the great ideas, for the great questions. If anyone in your buildings or you are ever looking for a resource, again, like a parent invite, template, whatever you're looking for, reach out. We would be more than happy to help you find that. Okay. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. I think once you have
Thank you.
signed out of that sketchy, I think you're free to go.